I collect all the hobbies. My new hobby is going to be archery, crossbow archery. My father was big on archery. I was sitting in the field when he took his first buck with his bow, and he shot league, and he's good at it. He really enjoyed it. I haven't been in an environment where I can do much for that for the last 20 years, so I'm getting back into it now. So just have a new crossbow coming tomorrow, and just like normal, all the things. It's in my head. So I've been doing a lot of research, watching a lot of YouTube videos, um, trying to figure out as much as I could with this. So this is the crossbow that I'm getting. Um, it's a 415 feet per second with a 370 grain bolt. Uh, I'm kind of want to be able to sight it in really quickly. So I wanted to put a laser, Borsader laser on the track here. The guy, what do they call that? Flight rail, and then know where I need to sight in, at least to get my first shot on paper. This comes with 3 bolts. I've got more bolts on order. Like anything, 2-day Amazon Prime shipping is a full week. So the bow comes tomorrow. Monday, the arrows and broadheads and stuff like that will come Friday. So no hunting for me the first week that this comes, but that's okay. I need time to get familiar with the equipment. The new bolts I'm getting are a pile driver, and then I'm going to actually up the weight. So it's not the 442. I'm going to put 150 grain. This is figured at 100 grain. I'm going to put 150 grain broadheads on it, so it'll be at 492. This, they figure that speed at 370 grains, 20 inches, right? So I'm going to just do some math. It's going to be wrong, but if I take that 415 feet per second at 370 grain, if I up my arrows, I'm going to come out with probably about 370 feet per second. There's some speed calculations here that people can make adjustments to. This calculator defaulted at 5. Looking at people, it seemed like that might be a little bit fast. It seemed a bit closer. It might be even slower than that. It could be down to 350 feet per second range. But yeah, just kind of working the math. I'll have to test and shoot and practice to see what it actually works out to be. But if we look at the energy, one of the things that people are having trouble with is these things are at shooting these light arrows, these faster than 400 feet per second, under $500 bows are they some of them are getting damaged. They're dumping too much energy into the bow, um, and if we look at yeah, anyway, so they're getting damaged. So that's part of why I want to go heavier arrow, heavier bow, trying to slow things down, make things a little bit quieter, but hopefully get better longevity. Um, this is an estimated wasted energy, basically energy that the bow has to absorb, which is basically half, versus what's going downrange. And by changing that arrow speed with a different total weight, I'm getting about 5%, or sorry, 10% improvement on energy going down range, or 10% less energy that the bow has to absorb. So hopefully that's bringing it right from the edge of what's going on and making it last longer. So sighting in, the arrows, they fly right, and we can put in our speed, we can put in our arrow, and we can basically calculate roughly what that's going to be based on the fletching length, the amount of drag that's going to happen, and stuff like that. We can see that as that arrow goes out, it falls. This is shooting perfectly horizontal. We don't really shoot that. Crossbow, you have a scope. You have a scope on the crossbow, and then the arrow is actually shooting up into that scope, and then out, and then back down into that scope, right? So a different chart will show that a little bit better. So here we can see that kind of goes up and then comes back down. So we can see, from the arrow's point of view, it comes up and then comes back down. And then after that range, it starts to, nosedive, right? In rifle shooting, we have a concept called maximum point blank range. And this is best description I've had is if you want to shoot in a tube, and how far can you shoot and never have the projectile leave that tube. So if I say my target size is 4 inches, so it's a 4-inch tube, we'll start in the middle, we'll go up to the top, we'll go back down to the middle, and then we'll keep going down to the bottom of that tube. And this is just figuring out what that is. What this allows us to do is we have one sight point, because the scope has generally one sight point. There's ranging down below, but if we don't have to use that, we don't have to use that. Vital of a deer is 8 inches. Cut that in half. Deer heart's roughly 4 inches. Yeah, just trying to run the math. So my near zero, so what I'll actually laser sight, bore sight the equipment at when I first get it to try to get it on paper will be 6 yards. So I'll just measure off 6 yards and put the laser on, and then just align the scope to that laser, and that should get me on paper. The far zero where you're actually shooting will be 30 yards. That is, this point here, trying to get this. Different calculations, right? This one takes an advantage the elevation of your sight. I don't know if that's actually the right number. I'll have to recalculate this when the equipment comes and I can actually pull this measurement. But we'll just try to, work with this. And that means that I'll be shooting within that 4-inch, 2 inches above, 2 inches below my intended target, up to 35 yards. And beyond that, we'll start getting more drop, and it starts dropping precipitously at that range. But we get a fairly flat shooting that first range. This kind of makes sense if we look at how long it takes the animal to react. We can see that the basically the animal doesn't have time to move the first 15 yards. The arrow is running about half the speed of sound, so the sound will beat the arrow every time. And there's some processing time between the time you hear it to the time you react. Something bad's happening and I need to, duck or whatever, right? And then there's some time to take, to duck because, the animals are standing up. They have to kind of crouch before you can jump. So we're looking at, that 35 yards, I've, potentially moved about, an inch and a half. So this is about as far as the math works for me on this theoretical analysis of the equipment I'm about to get. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Testing this, obviously just shooting, practicing. I do have some phones that I can use. They have super slowmo, which is 960 frames per second. This older one, it's going to be impossible for me to try to capture that. This one has motion detection at that, so I think I might be able just to shoot through frame, and this one might be able to capture 960 frames per second. This one I can do at 240 frames per second and get like 30 seconds. So I might be able to, Bluetooth remote, turn on the camera, shoot, and then be able to see the arrows moving through the frame. And what I'll do is I'll put shoot along a sheet with markings, so that way I can see basically for every frame how far the arrows moved, and I should be able to capture the arrow motion with that. My other option is I've got a Bluetooth 2-pack Bluetooth Lavier mics, and I should be able to put one at the bow, one at the target. That way I can hear, I'll put the one in between, that way I can hear when the bow's shot, I can hear when the arrow hits, and I can calculate a time of flight that way, acoustically. And then I know how far the distance is, and that can give me the average speed and then I can just look that up against the published speed tables. And by doing it both ways, I should be able to have the two numbers coincide, and I should be able to calculate at home without a proper chronograph what my actual speeds should be. So that's my hoping. If I have something wrong, is there something I need to consider? Please comment below. This is new to me. Just trying to learn. I'm just trying to get my head into this. Trying to do things well from the beginning and understand what's going on. You know, I geek out on stuff, and I'm geeking out on this right now. So I needed to get this out of my head. Have the next week to play with it, work with it. Of course, it's gonna be cold, but you know, it's the way it is. But yeah, please comment below. What else I need to think about, or what I may have wrong for details and stuff like that. I'd appreciate other people's insights. Thank you.